Hey everybody, my name is Chris and welcome to another Appward tutorial. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use the screen table element in Appward. Screen table is pretty self-explanatory. You pass it some information, whether that information come in an array of arrays, a data table reference, or a string meant to represent an array of arrays. A screen table will display that information and potentially edit it if you want it to. It's very useful. We use it in some of our most important apps in Appward right now. I'm going to be going over some of the places in which we use screen tables, and then I'm going to show you guys how to implement them in your own apps. This is going to be a pretty simple overview of screen table, so if you want some more in-depth information about it, you're going to have to check out some of our other videos. I'll get into that more at the end of this one. With all that being said, let's hop right into it. So here we are in Appward. In my bar up here, I've got a couple of apps open but hidden where we use screen tables. So our first here is Database Manager. Here we have 3 screen tables on the screen. 1, 2, and our third down here. As you can see, the screen tables are being used to display sets of information. So here it's being used to display our data tables. This one is being used to display the columns in the data table, so as I click around, these columns will change. And this one down here is being used to show the information that's in the data table, that's in these data tables right here. In queries, we do the same thing. We have a table down here, and you can select by cell here and edit. So for example, if I wanted to change this name here to dog, all I have to do is type in something else. And boom, that cell has now been changed. Pretty simple, pretty cool, pretty useful. So now that you've seen a couple of examples here, I'm going to show you guys how to create your own data table. So let's hop into Object Editor. I've got a container here for demo pop-ups, so under this I'll add another screen pop-up. It's a child, and I'll name it pop demo. Great. We're going to be doing our editing in here, so I'll show this, and here's our pop-up. How do we add a screen table to the screen? Well, we have it right here in our handy dandy sidebar. Here's a table, and boom. Now we have added a screen table to our app. As you can see, it's got a couple of columns for children. For each column that you want to display in the data table, you're going to want to add columns for the children. Now, how do we display information in this data table? Well, we input some information into our source. We have a couple options here. The first I'm going to go over is just a regular string and how we might structure that string in order to display the information properly. As you can see here, we have a couple of other properties here of the table. We have the array source row delimiter and the column delimiter using a semicolon and a comma. So this means that at the end of every row you would want to put a semicolon, and at the end of every cell you would want to put or at the end of every column, I should say, within a row, you'd want to put a comma. So let's say we want to display some information here. I'm going to say we're going to display information about animals. So we're going to say we want the name of the animal, and then we'll just say the color of the animal. Now we have our headers, right? So we have our first row, and I'm going to put a semicolon, and we're going to start typing in some of our animals. So I'll say dog, and our dog is going to be black, semicolon. We have cat, comma, orange, semicolon, and then we have whale, which is blue. And since we're at the end of our data, no semicolon there, and we'll press enter, and there it is. As you can see, our information was displayed in this data table. So pretty simple. If I were to add a third column here, let's say we want name, color, and age. As you can see, it won't display because under this table there are only 2 column children. If I add a third, There we can see our age. Now obviously there's no information displayed in here because each of the other rows only have 2 entries, but if I were to go through and add a third to each of those, they would also display here. So pretty simple. That's how you would use a string to display information in a data table. Now what if I wanted to use an array? Well, if I exit our screen editor for a quick second, in my other pop screen here, I have an array of arrays that we can use to display in here. This array of arrays, which by the way, our array viewer uses a table. We have a, this is the information that we have stored in our array of arrays. We have animals, tail, yes or no, and big, yes or no, whether or not they're a big animal, whether or not they have a tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to display this variable object in our table. So I'm just going to move this variable object over to our pop demo. Great, now it lives there. Going back into screen design, and as you can see, we've moved our array of arrays over here. So how do we display it in the table? Well, in our source, we just change this to be a path to our array. So we have our my parent. This refers to the parent screen of this table, dot var array \value, enter. And there it is. Now we have displayed our array of arrays in our table. Simple as that. If you were to use a data table, it would be the exact same thing. Rather than the path being to an array \value, it would be to data table \data table ref. And that is how you use another variable to store what you want displayed in this table. Now, our next step. We have a couple of styling options for our table as well. The most important of which is going to be, where is it? Selection type. If I exit screen design here and I click here, as you can see, we are selecting by row in the table. This will change that to, we'll change that to cell. Now we can select each row in this table. If we wanted the information to be editable, all we have to do is go into the columns here and allow edit. So I'll allow edit for all of these. I'll exit. So now we can type in here, yes. And our array that now lives in the orphaned version of this screen has been changed. Once I go into screen design, it'll be back referring to the original array. So this change will not pertain when I enter screen design, but the information does get changed, as you can see there. To cover a couple of other styling options here, we have our header height, self-explanatory there. I could change this to 30. We have our fit columns in table. So if I set this to true, the columns will stretch out to be the size of the table. And then we have our column width adjustment, which when set to true means that I can adjust the size of these columns. Now let's see if there's anything else important to go over. We can obviously change the colors. And there are a couple of other a little bit more complicated features that will be covered in another video. But for now, this is a pretty good rundown of how to use our screen table element. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something useful about how to use screen tables in your app. We just went over the basics in this video here, so if you want to learn more about how to use screen table and some of its a little bit more complicated features, please feel free to visit our YouTube channel and to visit our website at Appward.com. There will be more resources on how to use our platform and more information about screen tables specifically on there. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you good luck on making your own apps.